I never meant for the call to stay open. I was lying in a hospital bed that felt too narrow for my body, too bright for my eyes, too quiet for how loud my thoughts were. The IV drip clicked steadily beside me, a sound so consistent it felt like a countdown. My left arm was numb where the line went in, my right hand shaking slightly as I fumbled with my phone. I had only called my mother to ask for one thing: the insurance card. That was it. Just the numbers, so the billing office could stop hovering at my door every hour with polite smiles that never quite reached their eyes. The phone rang twice before she answered. Her voice came through first, sharp and distracted, layered over the echo of an airport terminal. Announcements crackled in the background. Rolling suitcases clacked against tile. "Evelyn?" she said, like the name itself was an inconvenience. Before I could speak, I heard my sister laugh. That same dry, superior laugh she'd had since we were kids. The one that always came right before she reminded me I was doing something wrong. I opened my mouth, and then I heard it, clear as the heart monitor beeping next to me. "She's useless," my mother said. Not angry, not emotional, casual, like she was ordering a latte. Let her rot in that hospital bed. Once we're back from Cabo, the house is ours anyway. My sister snorted. "She'll sign whatever we put in front of her. She always does." They kept talking, planning, laughing, talking about the trip I had paid for, about equity, about how easy it would be to make me disappear from the deed. I didn't hang up. I didn't make a sound. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling tiles, listening to my own family plan my erasure, while airport boarding calls echoed behind them. When the line finally went dead on their end, the room felt impossibly silent, and something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically. It broke clean in half. That wasn't the first time I understood my place in my family. It was just the first time I heard them say it out loud. The first memory I have of learning I wasn't worth protecting goes back to when I was 9 years old. I had spent an entire weekend drawing a woman with wings. I didn't know the word angel yet, the way adults use it, but that's what she was. I drew her on the back of an old credit card statement because it was the only paper I could find. I colored it carefully, pressing down harder than I should have, afraid the colors would disappear if I didn't. I left it on the kitchen counter in our house in Middleton, just outside Madison. My mother, Linda Carter, didn't even stop walking when she saw it. She crumpled the paper with one hand and dropped it into the trash while reaching for her coffee with the other. "Art doesn't pay for college," she said flatly. "Stop wasting time." My sister, Rachel, stood in the doorway, already taller than me, already confident in the way people are when they know they'll never be questioned. "She's right," Rachel said, laughing. "You're not special." That became the pattern. Linda decided early that Rachel was the investment, and I was the write-off. Rachel went to private high school in Shorewood Hills, SAT tutors, college tours. A 529 plan opened the day she was born. She never had to ask for anything twice. I was handed community college brochures before I finished middle school. When I begged to take weekend design classes at the Madison Museum of Contemporary Art, the answer was always the same: money's tight. And then, 2 weeks later, Rachel would get new tires for the car they bought her at 16. I learned to stop asking. The only person who ever pushed back was my grandfather, Harold Carter. Everyone called him Hank. He had retired from a manufacturing plant outside Sun Prairie with a pension, a quiet stubbornness, and absolutely no patience for my mother's hierarchy of worth. Every Saturday, he showed up in his dented silver Subaru, honked once, and waited. He never asked permission. "Your mom will get over it," he'd say, handing me $20 bills like they grew on trees. "Let's go." He took me to art supply stores on State Street, bought me sketchbooks I filled in a week, sat quietly while I drew at his kitchen table, nodding like he was watching something important happen. When I was 15, he bought me my first drawing tablet. "Digital's the future," he said. "Don't let them tell you otherwise." He framed my pieces and hung them in his hallway, even when my mother rolled her eyes and called them cute hobbies. They fought constantly about it. I'd hear them in the kitchen late at night, my mother bragging about Rachel's scholarships, while my grandfather cut in, calm and sharp. "Evelyn has more talent in her pinky than most people have in a lifetime," he'd say. "Stop trying to turn her into something she's not." My mother hated that. She hated anything that didn't fit her plan of having one successful daughter she could show off. By the time I was 18, I had built a portfolio strong enough to land freelance work online. I pulled in a few thousand a month quietly, never telling anyone. If my mother had known, she would have found a way to take it. My grandfather knew. He'd wink when PayPal notifications popped up on my phone. "That's your future," he'd say. "Hide it until you don't have to." Looking back, I realize how much those years trained me to shrink, to hide success, to pretend I wasn't good enough, because admitting I was would have started a war I didn't have the energy to fight. Every birthday card from my grandfather came with the same handwritten note: "Keep creating. The world needs what only you can make." When I turned 24, I turned down a full scholarship in finance to go freelance full-time. My mother didn't speak to me for weeks. Rachel texted one word: selfish. My grandfather took me to dinner on Capitol Square, raised his glass, and told the waiter his granddaughter was going to be bigger than anyone who ever sat in that room. That was the last birthday we celebrated together. The call came at 3 a.m. while I was working on a client deadline. My phone lit up with his name. But when I answered, it was the neighbor. By the time I reached his house, it was already over. Massive stroke. Gone before he hit the ground. 2 weeks later, the attorney slid the folder across the desk. Everything went to me. The house, the accounts, no conditions, no shared ownership. My mother and sister were waiting in the lobby when I walked out. They knew. That was the day everything changed. And it was the day they decided they were going to take it back. They moved back into my life the same way they always had. Quietly at first, politely, like nothing bad had ever happened. It started 2 days after the will was read. My mother called me just past 8 a.m, her voice suddenly soft in that way it only ever was when she wanted something. "Sweetheart," she said, dragging the word out, "your sister and I were thinking, maybe we could stay at the house for a little while." The house. She didn't say your house. She never did. "Just until things stabilize," she added quickly. "It's been such a shock for all of us." Rachel got on the line a moment later. "I mean, it's not like you're using all that space," she said, like she was offering to do me a favor. I should have said no. I knew that even as the word okay left my mouth. Grief makes you stupid. It makes you want to believe people can be better than they've shown you they are. They arrived that same afternoon with 2 cars and 6 suitcases. My mother rolled one through the front door without waiting to be invited. Rachel followed behind her, phone already out, scanning the living room like she was assessing resale value. "This place needs light," Rachel said immediately. "It feels dark." It was the same house my grandfather had kept spotless for decades. Sunlight poured through the bay windows. Hardwood floors glowed. Everything smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old books. But it wasn't theirs, so it wasn't enough. They framed it as temporary. By the end of the first week, they had taken over the master bedroom. By the end of the first month, they had replaced my grandfather's recliner with a white velvet sectional that showed every stain. Rachel turned his study into her office, complete with a ring light and pastel backdrop for the influencer career she swore was about to take off. My mother filled the basement with boxes from QVC and online shopping sprees she insisted were investments. The utility bills started arriving in my name. She handed them to me with a tight smile. "You're doing so well with your little designs, Evelyn," she said. "We wouldn't want to burden you." Every time I paid one, another arrived. Cable upgrades, a Peloton no one used, heated towel racks in a bathroom I avoided. Then came the suggestions. At first, casual. "It might make sense for tax purposes to add us to the deed." Then insistent. "Families share things. That's what grown-ups do." Rachel cornered me in the kitchen one night, wine glass in hand. "You're 32, she said. "You don't even have a 401k. We're protecting you from yourself." I started locking my bedroom door. They noticed. My mother began leaving real estate listings on the counter, reverse mortgages, home equity lines, anything that would turn walls into cash. One morning, I found a spare key to my bedroom taped under the kitchen island with a note that read, "For emergencies." That was the day I stopped pretending. They weren't grieving. They were renovating. And every change felt like an erasure of the life my grandfather had tried to give me. The fever hit hard 4 nights later. My skin burned. The sheets stuck to me. The nurse pushed medication through the IV and told me to rest. I drifted in and out until I remembered the insurance card. It was still in the kitchen drawer at the house. I fumbled for my phone and hit my mother on speed dial. She answered with airport noise roaring behind her. "Evelyn?" she said. "We're boarding soon." "I need the insurance number," I croaked. "The hospital." "Oh, honey," she said, lowering her voice, but not enough. "Can it wait? We're about to take off." Rachel's voice cut in closer to the phone. "She's probably just being dramatic." Then my mother said the words she thought I wouldn't hear. "She's out of it anyway. The nurse probably doped her up." Rachel laughed. "Perfect timing. When we get back, we'll have her sign the quitclaim deed." I lay there, staring at the ceiling, while they planned. How they'd open an equity line, how they'd pay off debt, how easy it would be. "She's useless with money," my mother said. "Always has been." They didn't know the call was still open. 7 minutes. 7 minutes and 12 seconds of them dismantling me piece by piece. When the line went dead, the decision was already made. I left the hospital 2 days later. I didn't go home to rest. I went home to prepare. The discharge nurse wheeled me out through the sliding doors just after noon. She handed me a brown paper bag with antibiotics and a stack of instructions I barely glanced at. My signature wobbled on the clipboard, my hand still unsteady, but my mind was clear for the first time in weeks. I didn't take a rideshare back to my apartment. I went straight to the house. The one thing I'd never stopped doing, no matter how bad things got, was hiding keys. Old habits from growing up in a house where privacy was a privilege, not a right. I still knew exactly where the spare was, tucked under the fake rock by the hydrangeas, the same place I'd kept it since high school. The house was empty when I let myself in. My mother and sister had already left for Cabo. Their suitcases were gone. The refrigerator was half empty. The air smelled faintly of my mother's citrus cleaner and Rachel's vanilla diffuser, like two signatures stamped on a place that no longer belonged to them. I stood in the foyer for a long time. Then I opened my laptop on the kitchen island and started the clock. The first call I made was to a real estate attorney I'd worked with once for a trademark issue. I explained everything in 30 seconds. Clean title, no mortgage, cash sale, family drama, discretion. She didn't let me finish. "I don't do intra-family transfers," she said flatly. "Too many knives come out later. I'm sorry." Click. The second call was to an agent I'd known loosely through college. He listened longer, long enough to say, "If your family contests this, I lose my license. I can't help." I stared at the wall after he hung up, nausea rolling through me. Fine. If no one would help me, I would do it myself. I spent the afternoon dragging myself from room to room, phone mounted on a gimbal, filming walkthroughs, measuring square footage, pulling comparable sales from Zillow and Redfin. Every time I bent down, the room spun, and I had to sit on the floor until the dizziness passed. That night, I listed the house privately as coming soon. No photos, no address, just one line. All cash sale, no contingencies, fast close. By morning, my inbox was full. Most agents backed out as soon as I mentioned privacy. 2 stayed. The buyer who didn't flinch was a physician relocating from Chicago. Proof of funds hit escrow the same day. We agreed on a price just under market. No inspections, close in 9 days. I paid for a contract template online and filled it out myself, booked a mobile notary. Then came the part that hurt. Packing. I rented a 15-foot truck and a storage unit 8 minutes away. I boxed my mother's designer shoes, Rachel's ring lights, the Peloton, the white velvet sectional they'd replaced my grandfather's chair with. I labeled everything carefully, not out of kindness, out of proof. I worked at night so the neighbors wouldn't ask questions, took breaks when the fever spiked, vomited into the powder room sink more than once. On day 6, Rachel FaceTimed me from a beach chair. Her face filled the screen, sunburned and smiling too wide. "How's my favorite little sister?" she said. "Feeling better?" I let my voice crack on purpose. "Still rough," I said. "Doctor says I need rest." She nodded, satisfied. "Don't worry about the house. Mom and I have everything under control." I smiled. "Thanks." On day 8, I signed the final documents at 2 in the morning. On day 9, the funds hit my account. I paid the storage unit 6 months in advance, changed every lock, installed cameras, forwarded the mail. By the time they boarded their flight home, the house no longer belonged to them, or me. And they had no idea. They landed just after noon. I know because the Ring notification popped up on my phone while I was sitting on the couch of a short-term rental 15 minutes away, a place I'd booked under my middle name and paid for in advance. The camera caught them the moment the rideshare pulled up. My mother stepped out first, oversized sunglasses still reflecting vacation light, dragging a hard-shell suitcase plastered with resort stickers. Rachel followed, AirPods in, tan lines sharp against her white tank top, laughing about something the flight attendant had said. They didn't notice anything was wrong until the key didn't turn. My mother frowned, jiggled it, tried again. Nothing. Rachel rolled her eyes and grabbed it from her. You're doing it wrong. She forced it harder. Still nothing. They knocked. Harder. My mother cupped her hands against the glass. The entryway behind it was bare. No console table, no mirror, no shoes by the door. Just polished hardwood echoing under a chandelier that suddenly looked too large for the emptiness below it. Rachel's voice cracked. What the hell? That's when my mother saw the envelope taped to the inside of the storm door. Plain white, my handwriting. She ripped it open with shaking fingers. Inside was one sheet of heavy paper and a brass key tied with red ribbon. The note was short. Grandpa left the house to me alone. I have taken back what was always mine. Your belongings are safe in storage. Enjoy the rest of your trip. Evelyn. Rachel read it over her shoulder and let out a sound that was half laugh, half scream. She didn't, she said. She wouldn't dare. My phone lit up immediately. Call after call. Voicemail. Texts followed. You ungrateful bitch. This is theft. I'm calling the police. You owe us. You're dead to us. I watched the screen light up and felt absolutely nothing. They tried the legal route next. My mother left frantic messages for the estate attorney. His return call came an hour later. I know because she put him on speaker in the driveway. Engine running, nowhere to go. The deed transferred legally, he said calmly. The sale is recorded. There is nothing to contest. Click. Rachel threw her phone against the windshield. They drove to the storage unit next. Everything was there, labeled, untouched, but suddenly worthless without a place to put it. Outside, two women with perfect hands and nowhere to go stood in the Wisconsin sun, staring at the consequences of believing they were untouchable. The pounding came that evening. Rachel showed up at my rental with her boyfriend trailing behind her, all tattoos and false confidence. She hammered on the door like it still belonged to her. I let them knock. Then I opened it just wide enough to speak. Not here, I said calmly. Public place. Tomorrow. Noon. Before she could argue, I closed the door and locked it. The next day, I arrived early. They didn't. When they finally slid into the booth across from me, Rachel didn't bother with pleasantries. You think you're clever, she hissed. You stole from us. I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. My mother's voice filled the booth. She's useless with money. She'll sign whatever we put in front of her. Rachel went pale. This conversation is over, I said quietly. If you contact me again, it won't be. They left without finishing their drinks. That was the last time I ever saw them. The studio opened quietly a few months later. 2 desks, 1 large window. My work on the walls. Clients came by referral. I paid myself a salary, started saving, started sleeping. I heard about my mother and sister the way you hear about distant relatives. Eventually, I stopped hearing anything at all. Sometimes I drive past the old house. The new owners turned my grandfather's study into a nursery. I like knowing that. I keep the brass key on my desk, not as a trophy, as a reminder. The moment I stopped shrinking, they called it betrayal. But all I really did was stop disappearing.